You stand at the edge of a Greenland fjord in the year 1000 AD, and the first thing that breaks your expectations is the colour. This isn't the white wasteland you imagined. It's green. Grass sweeps across the hillsides in waves. The water lies dark and still, reflecting nothing but sky. The air cuts into your throat, sharp and cold like iron. And then you see something that doesn't belong, a structure built into the slope itself. Smoke rising from what looks like the earth breathing. 1,000 years ago, Norse settlers carved out a farming civilization here at the edge of the Arctic. Not a temporary camp, not a desperate refuge. A functioning society with laws, trade routes and ambitions. But here's what haunts every historian who studies this place. How did they make it through winter? No forests to log, no supply ships in January, no margin for failure, no second chances. Today, you're going to experience Viking Greenland the way it actually felt. Street level, step by step, until it stops being a history lesson and becomes a place you can almost touch. And here's something new. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic evidence to life, letting us shift perspective, change angles, and move through these scenes in ways the original artists and archaeologists never could. We can walk around buildings, shift from ground level to aerial view, see the same moment from multiple directions. If you want more cinematic time travel like this, subscribe to Worlds Before Us. New worlds rebuilt one episode at a time. The real surprise isn't how harsh it is, it's how precisely everything has to work. One broken link and the whole system collapses. One bad harvest. One harsh winter. One ship that doesn't return. So let's begin where every journey begins here. The water. You walk along the stony beach. Your boots crunch over pebbles worn smooth by centuries of tide. The fjord stretches ahead, glassy and silent, but not empty. It's never empty. Because in Viking Greenland, the water isn't just scenery, it's infrastructure. These fjords are the roads. The channels that connect farm to farm like streets connect neighbours. Without them, this society doesn't function. A boat glides past in the distance, sitting low, heavy with cargo. The rowers move in rhythm, no wasted motion, and you wonder what could possibly be valuable enough to transport across water this cold, this unforgiving. Hold that question. Because in a few minutes, you'll see the one resource these people control that makes everything else possible. The resource that turns this frozen edge into a tradable commodity. You follow a warm path uphill, and the farm reveals itself. From a distance, it looked like a natural feature of the landscape. A mound, a shadow, a trick of the light. But up close, you see the engineering. Walls made from thick slabs of turf stacked like masonry. Stone foundations where wood would rot from moisture. A roof so heavy with sod that it looks like the building is sinking into the ground. Grass grows on top of it. Wildflowers in summer. This isn't architecture for beauty, it's architecture for survival. You step through the low doorway. Inside, the world contracts. Firelight jumps across the walls. Smoke clings to the ceiling beams, seeping slowly through a hole in the roof. And then you notice the efficiency. Every surface holds something. Every object has a place. Dried fish hang from rafters. Tools rest in carved niches. Sleeping benches line the walls. Because when winter locks the door for months, there's no room for waste. No space that doesn't earn its keep. The fire never goes out. Not in winter. Because relighting it is harder than keeping it alive. Now step back outside. Because the house is only the heart. The question is, what keeps it beating? You enter the work zone. Sheds with low roofs. Tools leaning against walls. Coils of rope made from twisted sinew. Wooden buckets. Iron blades wrapped in cloth. The smell of animals and earth and damp wool. And then the sound. Livestock. Cattle shifting in their pens. Sheep calling to each other. The low rumble of something alive and warm. In Greenland, animals aren't just food. They're capital. their status, their power, their survival itself. A family's wealth is measured in livestock. Their future depends on how many animals survive until spring. But livestock is also risk. Because here's the hard truth no one romanticizes. Winter doesn't kill you first. It kills your animals first. And when the animals die, you don't struggle. You disappear. So you walk toward the fields, toward the reason this place exists at all, toward the green that gives Greenland its name. This is the green engine of Greenland. Not grain. Not fruit. Not vegetables. Grass. Hay. They cut it in summer with iron scythes, dry it in the wind, stack it in sheds with walls thick enough to keep out moisture, guard it like gold, because every bale represents a future day your animals will live. How much hay does one cow need for 6 months of winter? How many animals can one family afford to keep through the cold? How much storage can they build before the snow returns and locks everything in place? This isn't romantic farming. This is mathematics with consequences. Every miscalculation is fatal. And it raises the deeper question. If survival is this tight, this calculated, this balanced on the edge of disaster, why would anyone choose to live here? You're about to find out. It's not just about staying alive. It's about identity. It's about being Norse. It's about belonging to something larger. You keep walking past the main longhouse toward a smaller structure, a church. It's simple, low, built from the same turf and stone as everything else. It doesn't tower over the land. But that's exactly why it matters. Because a church in Greenland means these people aren't thinking like explorers passing through. They're thinking like a society that expects to endure, that plans for generations. This is where people gather. Where children are baptized and given Christian names, where disputes are heard and settled, where the dead are mourned and remembered. You can almost see them arriving on a Sunday morning. Families from neighbouring farms, some walking for hours. Boots caked with mud, cloaks stiff from wind, a quiet nod. A shared understanding. Faith here isn't decoration, it's social infrastructure. It's the thread that holds isolated farms together. But the church also signals something else. These settlers still see themselves as part of a larger world, a Christian world, a Norse world, a European world. They're not outcasts, they're colonists. So where does that connection happen? Back at the water, back at the boats, back at the only highway that matters. You return to the fjord and now the settlement feels different. Because it's summer. And summer in Greenland isn't vacation, it's a countdown. A narrow window when everything has to happen. When the impossible becomes briefly possible. Boats move more frequently, goods shift from farm to farm, people visit. Marriages are arranged, news travels, work intensifies. You see a small landing area, stones polished smooth by decades of use. A boat pulled ashore and secured with thick rope. A pile of cargo waiting to be carried inland. Men working in silence, because everyone knows the clock is ticking. And then the question returns. If wood is scarce here, where do the beams come from? If there's no iron ore, where do the tools come from? If there are no grains, where does the flour come from? You can't build a society on turf alone. So what do they trade? What do they have that the world wants? You walk past storage areas. Barrels sealed with tar, bundles wrapped in oiled cloth, carefully stacked goods inspected and counted. And now the settlement shows its hand. Greenland isn't valuable because it's easy. It's valuable because it produces things other places will pay for. Walrus ivory carved and polished, hides from seals, thick and waterproof, furs from Arctic fox, white as snow, rope made from walrus skin, stronger than anything in Europe. Live falcons, trapped and trained, worth a fortune to European nobles. These aren't luxuries for the settlers, they're leverage. They're the reason ships return. Export goods mean iron comes back, They mean timber comes back. They mean grain and tools and news come back. They mean the settlement stays connected instead of becoming a forgotten experiment. So when you imagine this scene, picture it like a transaction with the wider world. Men loading cargo onto a ship bound for Norway. A leader inspecting quality, checking every bundle. Quiet urgency. Because every trade season decides whether the next year is possible. Whether the settlement survives or slowly starves. And now you understand why they endure this place. It's not only survival, it's opportunity, it's wealth, it's status back home. Let's bring it down to human scale. One day, morning to night, because this is how it actually felt. Morning, the fjord is the colour of slate. Wind skims across the water in sheets. Smoke rises from a dozen turf roofs scattered across the hillside. People step outside and immediately begin working. Because stillness here feels like danger, like tempting fate. A blade is sharpened against a whetstone, a pail is carried to the stream, a fence is mended where sheep push through. Animals exhale clouds of steam into the cold morning air. Midday, the home field becomes an assembly line. Cutting, turning, stacking, work that looks repetitive until you realise it's a race against time. Every bundle of hay is a bet on winter. Every hour of sunlight is precious. Children help. Women work alongside men. No one is idle. Afternoon. A boat arrives. Or a neighbour on foot. Or news from another farm. Because isolation is the default here, and contact is currency. Information is survival. You learn which farms lost animals. Which families are struggling. Which ships are expected. Evening. The light stretches longer than it should. The sky turns pale gold, then fades to grey. The farm slows. The animals settle into their pens. Someone checks the hay stores like they're checking a bank account. Because they are. Night. The longhouse fills with firelight, voices low, stories told, smoke curling toward the roof hole. Outside the fjord goes black. The stars appear, cold and distant, and somewhere in the dark, another farm is doing the exact same thing. Surviving one more day. So that's Viking Greenland in the year 1000 AD. Not a frozen myth, not a romantic legend, a real farming society built into fjords and turf. Running on hay, boats and discipline. A place where people made a choice that worked, at least for a while. At least in this moment, around the year 1000 at its height, before the climate shifted, before the ice returned, before the ships stopped coming. If you want the next Reconstruction, tell me what you want to walk through. A full winter locked inside the longhouse, day by day. Or a summer harbour day with cargo ships arriving and trade goods moving. Write your choice in the comments. And if there's another place or moment you'd like me to reconstruct, let me know. Again, thank you so much.